What would you do if a stranger's cruel words unraveled a truth you never expected? In the quiet town of Willow Creek, where the air carried the scent of pine and the weight of small-town pride, a single moment at a flower festival sparked a chain of events that would shatter illusions and expose raw human flaws. This is the story of a Karen who mocked a hero, a daughter who learned the cost of truth, and a family bound by loyalty and heartbreak. It was the annual Karen Blossom Festival, named not for the stereotype, but for the delicate white flowers that bloomed across Willow Creek each spring. The town square buzzed with laughter, children darting through stalls, and the hum of a local band playing soft country tunes. My dad, Thomas, stood proudly in his old military uniform, the medals pinned to his chest glinting under the May sun. He wore it every year to honor his service in Vietnam, a quiet nod to the sacrifices he rarely spoke of. At 65, his broad shoulders still carried the weight of a soldier, though his eyes held a gentleness that war couldn't erase. Ellie was 17, snapping photos of the festival for the school paper. My camera lens caught Dad adjusting his cap, his calloused hands steady despite the tremor he'd developed over the years. Beside me, my best friend, Mia, nudged my arm, pointing to a woman striding toward us. She was in her late 40s, blonde hair swept into a tight bun, her designer sunglasses perched like a crown. Her voice cut through the crowd before she even reached us. "Excuse me," she snapped, her tone sharp enough to slice glass. "Why is he wearing that ridiculous costume? This isn't a reenactment, you know?" Her finger jabbed toward Dad, who turned, confused but polite. "Ma'am." Dad's voice was calm, the kind of calm that comes from surviving things most people couldn't imagine. "That uniform," she sneered, loud enough for nearby heads to turn. "It's offensive to real veterans. You look like you bought it at a thrift store. Who do you think you're fooling?" The air around us thickened. Mia froze, her eyes wide. I felt my cheeks burn, anger rising like a tide. Dad's service wasn't just a story, it was his life, etched into the scars on his back and the nightmares that woke him at 3 a.m. I stepped forward, ready to snap back, but Dad's hand gently touched my arm. "It's all right, Ellie," he said softly. "Let's not ruin the day." The woman Karen, as I'd later learn, rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, spare me the hero act. I bet you've never even seen combat." Her laugh was a blade, cutting through the festival's warmth. A small crowd gathered, some whispering, others staring at Dad like he was the one out of place. I wanted to scream, to tell her about the shrapnel still lodged in his leg, the friends he'd buried, the Purple Heart tucked in his dresser drawer. But Dad just smiled faintly and turned back to the flower stall, picking up a bundle of Karen blossoms as if nothing had happened. I hated how he let her walk away, her heels clicking triumphantly. Mia tugged my sleeve. "Who does she think she is?" she whispered. "You should have said something, Ellie." "I will," I muttered, my fists clenched. I didn't know how, but I wasn't letting this go. That night I couldn't sleep. Karen's words replayed in my head, each one a fresh wound. I posted about it on the town's community board online, describing the woman in the sunglasses and her cruel words. The post exploded. People shared stories of similar encounters, like Karen berating a barista, demanding to speak to managers, or, in one case, yelling at a kid for skateboarding. But no one knew her name. She was a ghost, a storm that blew through and left chaos. The next morning, my Aunt Clara called. Clara was my dad's older sister, a woman whose presence commanded rooms. She was a top director at the Department of Justice, though she kept her work vague, always saying, "I push papers and make calls." I hadn't seen her in months. She was always traveling, her life a mystery of late-night emails and encrypted phone calls. When I told her about the festival, her voice sharpened. "Describe this woman, Ellie," she said. I did, the bun, the sunglasses, the attitude. Clara went quiet, then said, "Send me a photo if you have one. I'll be in town tomorrow." I didn't think much of it. Clara was protective, but what could she do? Still, I dug through my camera roll and found a blurry shot of the woman mid-rant, her finger pointed at Dad. I sent it to Clara, then tried to focus on school, though Karen's sneer haunted me. The next day, Clara arrived, her sleek black SUV pulling into our driveway. She was all business-tailored suit, graying hair pulled back, her eyes scanning the world like a hawk. Over dinner, she listened as Dad recounted the incident, his voice steady but tired. He didn't mention the medals or the war, just said, "Some folks don't understand respect." Clara's jaw tightened. "I'll handle it," she said, and something in her tone made my stomach twist. I'd never seen her angry, not like this. The twist came the next morning. Clara called me to the town square, where the festival was winding down. A small crowd had gathered near the main stage, and there, in the center, was Karen. Her sunglasses were gone, her face pale as Clara spoke to her in a low, controlled voice. I crept closer, catching fragments of their conversation. "You think you can humiliate a veteran and walk away?" Clara said, her words icy. "Thomas Harper served 2 tours in Vietnam. He earned every medal on that uniform. And you, Ms. Linda Grayson, should know better." Linda Grayson. The name hit me like a shockwave. She wasn't just some random Karen, she was the wife of a local councilman, known for her charity fundraisers and perfect public image. I'd seen her name on plaques, her smile in town newsletters. The crowd murmured, phones already out, recording the scene. Linda stammered, "Two didn't know." "I thought." "You thought wrong," Clara cut in. "And you're lucky this is a conversation and not a courtroom." I expected Linda to crumble, to apologize and slink away. But then came the second twist, the one that turned my world upside down. A man stepped forward from the crowd. Mr. Daniels, my history teacher, a quiet widower who coached Little League and always smelled faintly of chalk. His face was flushed, his hands shaking. "Clara, enough," he said, his voice breaking. "She didn't mean it. She's been under pressure, her son's sick, and the medical bills," he trailed off, his eyes pleading. The crowd went silent. Linda's head snapped up, her expression a mix of shame and gratitude. I looked at Clara, expecting her to soften, but her face was stone. "Pressure doesn't excuse cruelty," she said. "But I'll let Thomas decide what happens next." All eyes turned to Dad, who'd been standing quietly behind me. His uniform was gone, replaced by his usual flannel shirt. He looked at Linda, then at Mr. Daniels, and finally at me. His eyes held a weight I couldn't name, grief, maybe, or something deeper. "Let it go, Clara," he said. "She's not worth the fight." Linda's shoulders sagged, tears spilling down her cheeks. Mr. Daniels guided her away, the crowd parting like a sea. I wanted to feel triumphant, but something felt wrong. Dad's voice had cracked on worth, and I realized I'd never asked him how the incident made him feel. That night, Clara explained everything. She'd run Linda's photo through some DOJ database, nothing illegal, just a perk of her position. Linda's public persona was a facade. Her family was drowning in debt, her son's illness a quiet tragedy. Clara could have ruined her with a single call, but Dad's words stopped her. "He's always been like that," Clara said. "He forgives what most can't." I thought that was the end, but the real heartbreak came weeks later. I found Dad in his study, staring at an old photo of his platoon. He looked up, his eyes wet, and said, "Ellie, I didn't wear the uniform to be a hero. I wore it for them, the ones who didn't come back. That woman's words, they hurt because they reminded me I'm still here, and they're not." I hugged him, my throat tight. I'd been so focused on justice, on exposing Linda, that I'd missed the real wound, not her cruelty, but the pain Dad carried every day. Clara's power, Linda's downfall, Mr. Daniels' plea, none of it could heal that. The Karen blossoms still bloomed outside, their beauty a cruel contrast to the truth. Some scars never fade, and forgiveness doesn't erase them.